This is ChangeMakers with Katie Gore, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
Our ChangeMaker this week is Sister Donna Markham, the president and CEO of Catholic Charities USA. She's the first female president in the organization's 110-year history that is one of the largest nonprofit charitable organizations in the country. Sister Donna leads a network of agencies throughout the United States that advocate for social justice and provide services to people in need, from adoption to housing to senior care, disaster relief, and more. Sister Donna Markham, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
You've played the role of professor, board clinical psychologist, and now you're CEO. How has that journey been for you through your organization?
Well, at Catholic Charities, I've been here just beginning my 7th year. So in many ways, the work at Catholic Charities brings together a lot of the experience I've had both in healthcare and in behavioral healthcare and in administration. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to really make a difference in people's lives, and especially now in the midst of the pandemic.
Catholic Charities has been defined as the largest social safety net provider in the country, really next to the federal government. So tell us what activities Catholic Charities is involved in.
Well, we're involved in a lot of things. And the first category, I guess, would be we do provide a lot of emergency services to people who've really found themselves in need of food or shelter or healthcare. But we do the emergency work, of course, and disaster operations, disaster relief, working with people really often who have lost a lot in their lives. So that's one area of responsibility. The second big area of responsibility and work that Catholic Charities does is really to try to look at helping people get out of poverty. So the emergency is one thing, but getting out of poverty, being able to procure employment, meaningful employment, being able to be trained in a trade, developing basic social enterprise initiatives. That's a big part of our work these days. Of course, one of the crises that we're facing in our country, as you I'm sure know, is the housing crisis. So part of helping people these days revolves around providing permanent supportive housing to people who've been on the streets, but also affordable housing for many people whose lives have been stretched to the hilt as a result of loss of employment. So we're doing a lot of work in the housing arena right now.
Before we go through the programs that Catholic Charities is involved in and really some of the efforts that you're leading, speak to us in a real basic term. When you interact with a person who is in such a condition of need, what exactly are you saying to them to give them hope or reality or even where to start with their life? How do you go about that conversation?
Well, certainly when a person has been through a horrible crisis in their lives, they come to us often in some of the darkest moments of their lives. So it's important for every one of us on the front lines. Right now, I'm not on the front lines, but I have been through much of my life, is to convey to them that we're here to help. There is hope. There is a way out of the crisis, and that we will walk with them hand in hand to help them come out of this with dignity and self-respect for themselves and their families. So we maintain a very highly positive attitude with people that are struggling, because that in and of itself says somebody else believes in me, that I can do this. I'm not just a failure, or I'm not just a victim of terrible circumstances, but I can get out of this.
At one of our program offices just a couple weeks ago, we got a letter from a person who was involved in one of the housing programs, and they said exactly that. They said, you helped me believe in myself when I had given up.
That's right.
And it's really unique and not necessarily profound, though. When you believe in somebody, it gives them just enough belief that they're able to possibly change their perspective. And that's what I love about affordable housing so much. It can really be one of those mini conduits in their life that helps them leap forward. So, what housing needs do you see most in, your day-to-day organizational outreach?
Sure. Well, Catholic Charities, at the present time, we operate about 35,000 units of affordable housing, but that still is a drop in the bucket when we face what the national shortage is. So we are engaged with many partners in construction, renovating properties to provide affordable housing. So that is an ongoing initiative, and we have projects underway in many cities across the country. And then there's another whole area of housing, and this is the most difficult one. But this is what is called permanent supportive housing. And this is an initiative that we have undertaken to assist people who have been chronically homeless, that is, living on the streets for more than a year, but to assist them in getting housed and staying housed. Many of the people that we're trying to help right now are people who have serious mental health issues. They are also many times drug addicted, maybe alcohol addicted. They don't appreciate staying in shelters. So we're trying to move beyond the shelter model to providing permanent supportive housing, which involves wraparound social services, so that a person comes into their new apartment or and they are provided social service support. They are also provided medical assistance and behavioral health services. First is to get them into the housing, and then to literally wrap around them all the supports they need to remain in a safe place that is their own. So right now, we have a pilot project, which is quite fascinating, I think, underway. And in the pilot project, we're just beginning our second year. What we're doing in the pilot is we are trying to decrease chronic homelessness in 5 cities over a period of 5 years by 20% and decrease the hospital readmission rates for those people by at least 25% and connect 35% of them to primary health care and behavioral health services. So our pilot cities, Detroit, Las Vegas, Portland, Spokane, and St. Louis, are involved in this initiative, which is, I think, very exciting. And so far, in our first year, we've actually been able to get 176 chronically homeless persons housed, which is point in time, that's 25% of our overall goal for the 5 years. So it's working, and we have great partnerships, and it's a model that I think once we test it, will be able to be spread to other organizations that are trying to do similar things with people who are chronically homeless. So that's my exciting one. I'm just thrilled with what's going on there.
This pilot project you mentioned, and you said it was 5 cities, and you've now netted 176 people housed. Are you hearing back from, those individuals as far as, how their lives have been impacted? Or what are you seeing as more than just the number of how many people have been housed? What other outcomes have you seen?
Well, I think one of the fortunate opportunities I have as CEO of Catholic Charities USA is I get the opportunity to visit people on some of these new projects as they've been coming online. And so I've had the opportunity to talk to some of the folks that have literally moved off the street with their families into their own apartment. And they can't believe that they're safe. They can't believe that they're allowed to stay there, that nobody's going to throw them out on the street if they have a stumble in their recovery. And so there's a whole sense of excitement, children that are so grateful to sleep in a bed. This just touches me so much when I see them. When we recently opened, pre-COVID, opened a new site in Spokane, and I was at the new site, which was a 50 apartment unit building, and for families, homeless families, to see them arrive at the site, get taken to their new apartment, to be greeted warmly, to be welcomed in a furnished space. I guess it's very simple, but it's safe and lovely. And to know that they can provide a warm place, a loving place for their children, that is just absolutely overwhelming. Very, very moving to me. And there are so many stories like that, whether it's a family or it's an individual who, for the first time, finds himself or herself in a situation where they can relax and feel that they are safe and that their belongings aren't going to be taken. And those are moments of just incredible hope and joy to me, but I also know to the people who are moving into these spaces. It's a thrilling thing to see. It's really just to say, Katie, it's the collaboration between three large entities: Catholic Charities, Catholic Healthcare, the hospital system, and the dioceses. So, in many cases, the dioceses have repurposed underutilized church property and turned it over to Catholic Charities to develop into permanent supportive housing. And then the health system has provided the medical care, and Catholic Charities puts together the building project and also provides the social services around the individuals that are housed. So it takes all three strong entities to make this work, and we're finding it is working. Now, the truth will be told how long. We were only 1 year into it, so we want to see if we can keep folks housed for more than a year, and that's really key to the outcomes that we're looking at.
Another part of the housing continuum is not just getting them into the house and having, the adaptability to address various, behavioral needs or medical needs or employment needs. But another thing that I read about Catholic Charities, and one of the many reasons I was so excited to have you on this podcast was that I read about the Francis Fund for Eviction Prevention. And eviction prevention, as the nation is now being confronted with, is so much a key of this housing continuum. Tell us what you are doing with that fund and how that is helping.
Sure. This is another wonderful story. Around Christmas time, actually, I received a telephone call from the Felician Services CEO. He said that the Felician sisters and their institutions wanted to know what were some of the greatest needs affecting people in the midst of the pandemic. And I said, well, you've heard a lot about food shortage and food security. But I said the real issue that has gotten people really, really frightened is the likelihood of losing their homes because they don't have the money to pay rent. So their board got together and they came back to me and said, we'd like to partner with Catholic Charities and see what we could do to start this Francis Fund for eviction mitigation. So Catholic Charities matched the $1 million donation from Felician Services and established this fund that is to be used to keep families housed. And so it is an emergency fund. When the government money is short or can't be used, and often can't be used if it's someone who's not documented or whatever. But we use this fund to help people stay in their homes. And so we started it with $2 million. That's a drop in the bucket again, but it's just been fantastic because we've been able to, I think the last time I looked at the numbers, we have been able to keep, I think, close to 400 families in their homes since this started, because the government money is holding for now, but we know that that's not going to continue. So we're prepared, and we're continuing to raise money for the Francis Fund, and it's specifically for that purpose of eviction mitigation all across the country. So our agencies in rural areas or in urban areas or anything in between, they let us know what they need, and we provide the funding for them to help their clients stay housed. But it's a wonderful project.
That's a major accomplishment. One of the other things that I learned about you, and not many people have this sort of accolade. And I'm sure you probably consider this just business as usual. But earlier this year, you and other faith leaders met with Vice President Harris to discuss some pressing issues. What was that like, and how
Oh,
did you prepare for that?
well, it was a big surprise, first of all, um, to meet her in person. And she had invited a group of us to come together to brainstorm, basically to brainstorm with her how we could get people who are hard to reach, who are the maybe people who are in areas of significant poverty or neighborhoods, especially our neighborhoods with a lot of Black and Brown brothers and sisters, to help them get over their hesitancy to be vaccinated for COVID. So we had a wonderful session with Vice President Harris. She was very animated. She wanted to know how we reach those communities. And for the people that were gathered there, we all are in those communities and we're trusted entities in those hard to reach communities. So we did a lot of brainstorming. We were there for about an hour with her. And as she said, it's the first of many meetings to look at how the faith-based organizations who have credibility in many pockets of society where government might not be able to reach, but how could we help to really assure people that it was okay for them to get vaccinated and be the conduits that folks would trust so that they could get the vaccine. So that's been, I think it's a pretty daunting task, but we've made some headway, and I look forward to meeting with her again and discussing other initiatives with her.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, hang on a moment, Sister Donna. We have to stop right here. But coming up in the second part of my conversation with Sister Donna Markham, the president and CEO of Catholic Charities, Sister Donna talks about how she's leveraging digital transformation to improve her organization.
A person comes in first maybe because they're hungry, but then we find out they really need a behavioral health care. So they do an intake process with one program, which would be the food security part of Catholic Charities, but they really need help in the behavioral health end. So again, so that person doesn't have to be re-entered into a system in a separate program. All of that is being streamlined so that once we know the person and know the needs that they have, the information can go with them to the program that is best suited to serve them.
Thanks for listening to ChangeMakers with Katie Gore. To find out more about Katie, go to quadel.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.